Praise be to the Lord. I hope you are well today and blessed. We are still in Passion Week, and today is on Tuesday, a day that is referred to in this week as Tuesday of Passion Week or Holy Tuesday. I would want us to look at the events that took place during Tuesday, a day like today. And we can reference Mark chapter 11, verse 20 to 26, where we see Jesus teaching about faith and also forgiveness. We see him using the example of a tree that he had cast the previous day, that is on Monday, as we saw yesterday. And he was on his way to Jerusalem together with his disciples, who noticed that the tree that Jesus had cast had dried up to the roots, and they were amazed. And there Jesus taught them that if they have faith and not doubt, they will be able to command the hills to move and throw themselves to the sea, and that will happen. He continues to tell them that when they pray in faith and not doubt, whatever they ask for, they will receive. He still continues to talk about forgiveness, where he urges them that when they go to pray, they must first of all forgive anyone whom they may be holding something against, that their Father in heaven may forgive them. From there we see Jesus proceeding to the temple, where he is faced by one of the Pharisees, who asks him a question on the authority that he is using to do what he is doing. And that is in Mark chapter 11, from verse 27 to verse 33. And in response, Jesus poses a question too: with whose authority was John baptizing you? And the Pharisees were not able to respond to that question, because they said amongst themselves, if we say it is with God's authority, then he will ask us, why didn't we believe? And if we say it is in human's authority, people may kill us because they believed that John was a prophet. From there, we see Jesus continuing to teach in the temple using parables. And here in chapter 12, verse 11 to 12 of Mark, we see him using a parable of a tenant in the vineyard. And he taught of a man who owned a vineyard, which he prepared, planted, and then he hired it out to tenants. And when he sent his servants to go and get a share of harvest, the word tells us that they killed him. And when he thought of sending his only son, they also killed his son. And then Jesus asks, what should this vineyard owner do? He should throw out the tenants and hire the vineyard to somebody else. Jesus taught this parable targeting the Pharisees because of their actions and their attitude. And the Pharisees were not happy with that, because they knew that he used this parable against them. And they tried to think of how they could arrest him, but it wasn't very possible because they were afraid of the people. Then we see Jesus facing a lot of questions from the Pharisees, teachers of the law, and other religious leaders. They asked him about the tax payment. They asked him about the brother who had married a wife, died, and the wife was married to his brother, that he could give him children. They also asked about the commandment. And we see Jesus responding to all this. And we also see in Mark chapter 12, verse 38 to 40, Jesus warning people about the teachers of the law as people who are hypocrites, people who are not faithful, they are thieves, and they oppress the poor in the community, and especially the widows. And then from chapter 13, we see Jesus concluding his teachings by preparing his disciples for what was to happen. His death was coming nearer. And they also knew that after he left them, they will face a lot of tribulations, they will face a lot of fights, a lot of oppositions. So Jesus prepared them by encouraging them to stand firm in faith during those times. And they also want them not to be misled by the false prophets and people who will come teaching and performing miracles in his name. My dear listeners, there are many things that we can learn from the events that took place during Tuesday of Passion Week. And number one is that we must always be people who have faith in God, believing and knowing that there is nothing impossible with our God. Here we see a tree that was cast by Jesus and it dried up. This was by faith. We see Jesus telling his disciples to be in faith as they pray, as they ask for what they want, and they will see it happen. I want to encourage you that you should always have faith in God, and he will never fail you. Faith makes things happen. Faith makes things change. So when we have faith in God and we pray, we will see things that have been disturbing us, things that we have been waiting for, happen in our lives. So let us continue to hold faith in God, and he will never frustrate us. When we pray in faith, in James chapter 5, we are told that we need to believe that whatever we have prayed for, we have already received. God did a lot of things. Jesus, when he was on earth, he healed so many people, and at the end of it, he was telling them, your faith has made you well. We see him feeding thousands of people by literal food, and this was happening through faith. So, my dear brother, my dear sister, let us be people of faith. That which is troubling you today, that which is making you go through sleepless nights today, by faith, God can intervene, change it, do it, and the glory will go back to him. We are also taught about forgiving others. We need to forgive others so that God may also forgive us. Let us continue remembering that whatever Jesus went through in this week, including the many tribulations that he faced, the crucifixion that he faced, the lying in the grave, though he was not a man like us, it was because we needed to be forgiven by our God, and it is him who released his son to come go through all that we may be forgiven. God loved us so much. He was so merciful to us. He was so mindful, so caring. And that is why he allowed his son to go through all this. For us, it cost us nothing to forgive those who have wronged us. It cost us nothing to forgive those who have made us go through tearful moments. So I encourage you that if you want to be forgiven by your Father, train yourself to forgive others, because it is by forgiving that we are forgiven. Again, when you don't forgive, it is you who continues to suffer, because you continue carrying that burden of the wrongs that were done to you. You continue carrying that burden of hating the people who wronged you. So, forgiving others is for your own good. When you forgive them, you are relieved from stresses. You are relieved from that pain. You find joy in your life. So, it is good for you and me to choose today, as we remember the way God forgave us, to forgive others. When we forgive, we are forgiven. What is that wrong that your brother, that your sister has done you, and you've always been feeling that you cannot forgive him or her, you cannot let it go? Today I encourage you to forgive them. Forgiving others will make your Father in heaven forgive you, will make other people that you have wronged forgive you, and it will bring you refreshment in your soul, in your mind, and in your life. Forgive others for you to be forgiven. Another thing that we need to know is that as we continue with this life, we have so many enemies of our faith. As we see with Jesus, he had so many enemies. All these religious groups that we see, they were against him. They tried to arrest him. They tried to persecute him. But I thank God because he continued to strengthen Jesus. He continued to give him knowledge to respond to the questions that they were raising to him. He continued to help him that they were not able to trap him. So I want to tell you, you need not to be afraid of your enemies. You don't need to hate them. You need not to fight them, but continue believing in God who fights our battles. He fought for Jesus. He stood with him. He helped him through the traps that were laid before him, and he was able to overcome. So by faith in God, you will overcome. You will defeat your enemies, and the name of our God will be glorified. So siku ya leo nataka kukuambia, usichukie maadui zako, usiwatupanishe, wapende na uendelee kusimama imara kwa Bwana, na mwisho kabisa wataona Mungu akiweza kukushindania kama vile aliweza kumshindania Yesu. Nataka kukuambia ya kwamba many times they tried to trap him. They tried to arrest him, but they could not do it before the real time came. So even you, I want to encourage you, those who are seeking to bring you down, those who are seeking to kill you, those who are seeking to make you have trouble in your lives, they will not succeed in their evil plans, because those are not God's plans for you. Whatever God has planned for you is what will be fulfilled. So you need not to be afraid. You need not to just be there mourning yourself, crying and lamenting, hating them. Continue trusting in God. Continue calling upon him. Continue walking in his ways, and you will see him frustrate your enemies, those who are trying to trap you, as he did with the Pharisees. You see in the word, they tried Jesus, and it came to a time when he responded to their questions until they realized that they could not defeat him. They could not find something to make them arrest him until they had to leave him. Stand firm in faith, stand firm in what you believe in, and your enemies will flee from you. Another thing that we need to learn is that we need to be very careful of our attitudes and our actions, because God looks at our hearts. He understands us better. He does not just look at how we look from outside, but he searches our hearts, he searches our minds, and that is what makes him know whether we are true followers of him or we are just pretending. We see that there was a lot of hypocrisy with these religious leaders. That is the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the teachers of the law. And these are people who are in the temple, the people who are supposed to be defending Jesus, the people who are supposed to be defending the house of God. They are the same people that Jesus looked at and saw a lot of hypocrisy in them, and they attacked them through his teachings. When God looks at you, what does he see in your heart? What does he see in your mind? In this week of passion, we need to search ourselves, and where we don't have the right attitudes, where we are not doing things right, where we are not walking what we talk, we need to change and align with the will of God, align with the God's principles that are set for us. So may God help us, ili tusiwe ni watu ambao ni wa kujifanya. Tunajifanya wazuri, lakini mioyo yetu imejawa na uovu, imejawa na mabaya. tuwe watu ambao wanachagua kubadilika wiki hii, wanachagua kubadilika siku hii, ili Mungu akituangalia anaona ya kweli sisi ni watu ambao hatujifanyi ni watu ambao tunakuwa vile tunasema na vile tunaonekana. Mwisho kabisa, as Jesus was encouraging his disciples, I want to encourage every one of us today that we need to be strong in our faith. In this journey, there is a lot that we are facing. There is a lot that is coming our way. Sometimes we have fought. Sometimes we have people who will try to discourage us. We have people who will try to get us out of the way. We have so many things that are enticing us that we may abandon our faith. But remember what Jesus told his disciples. Those who will stand faithful to the end, they will be saved. We will stand not by our strength, but by the strength that Christ gives us. So don't waver in your faith. Usilegalege, usitingike, simama imara. Na hayo majaribu unapitia, hayo mambo yanataka kutoa kwa imani na kwa Mungu, Mungu atakusaidia kuyashinda, na mwisho kabisa utaweza kurithi ufalme wa mbinguni. So the journey that we are in is not easy. Our enemies are many. Things to get us out of the way are many. Obstacles to hinder us from continuing with the journey are many. But we have to purpose, to stand firm, to stand strong, and to walk the journey to the end. We see the disciples of Jesus were able to withstand a lot of hard things after Jesus left them. Some were boiled, some were killed, some were done a lot of shameful things, but they were able to defend the faith. They were able to stand strong. Hata wewe Mkristo ni lazima usimame imara na usitoke kwa njia za Bwana. Usitoke kwa imani ambayo ulipokea wakati ulisema ya kwamba umempokea Kristo. Simama na Mungu wetu atakushindania. Kweli maisha ni magumu na mambo ni mengi, lakini tukiamua kusimama, tutasimama kwa sababu ya uwezo wa Mungu. Na tukishinda, Mungu wetu atatukuzwa na baraka zake zitaendelea kuwa nyingi. Kwa hivyo Mungu akubariki, Mungu akusaidie, na ili uweze kushikilia imani hadi mwisho kwa utukufu wa Mungu wetu. Kristo alisimama, alivumilia, aliuawa, lakini mwisho kabisa alisimama na akatuletea ushindi. Hizo nguvu zilizomfufua Kristo ndizo nguvu zitatusaidia kusimama na kushinda katika jina la Yesu. So barikiwa na uendelee kuwa na nguvu katika Bwana. Tupatane kesho tutakapokuwa tukiangalia yale mambo yaliweza kutendeka Jumatano kama ya kesho. Mungu akubariki na usimame imara katika imani. Asante sana.